In 2012, 410,000 people were deported from the United States, and more than half of them were from Mexico. It is vital to provide shelter and resources for deportees near the border when they are most vulnerable. The intention of this thesis is to find the most efficient design that would reflect the needs of recent deportees. To address complex issues like immigration, we have to look at the root causes such as poverty, war, and human rights abuses abroad. In order to understand and tackle the lack of resources provided to deportees, it is important to understand the causes of immigration. This particular discourse shows that immigration is directly related to economy. The top illustration shows the number of apprehensions per year, and the rise and fall of these numbers directly relates to the rise and fall of the U.S. economy. The bottom illustration shows international GDP numbers, and the bordering countries with the biggest GDP gaps also tend to have the highest rate of immigration. The most appropriate site for this thesis is Nogales, Mexico, where over 200,000 people were deported in 2012. This is more than the rest of the Mexican border towns combined. Many of these deportees are not from Nogales, so when they are dropped off after months of detention, they have nowhere to go and no way to get there. The risk of deportation for illegal immigrants coming from Mexico is high, but this doesn't stop them from trying to achieve their goals in the U.S. This includes train hopping, which is extremely dangerous, and this act alone could result in death before they even have reached the border. Why do people come here illegally when it is so risky? The United States has a large economy with a range of job opportunities, and many material goods are cheaper relative to income levels, so people feel that there is hope here to succeed. The homicide rates in Mexican border cities are directly related to the number of deportations in each city, which proves that there is a need for a resource center in these border towns to help people find safe ways to continue after they have been deported. Deporting someone for a violent crime may actually make us less safe, because deportees are no longer in the system and no one is monitoring them to make sure that they don't violate any parole conditions. Major transportation routes also contribute to the heavy flow of immigrants. Although a physical wall has been built on much of the border to Mexico, the use of tunnels to smuggle people and drugs has already become common, and 50 such tunnels have been discovered along the Mexican border since 1990. To combat this, the U.S. Border Patrol has increased security agents on the border, but increasing the number of low-paid guards at the border opens another avenue for illegal crossing, and at least 200 U.S. public employees were charged in the past 2 years with helping to move drugs or immigrants across the southwest border, and thousands more are under investigation. So building barriers just causes more people to get more creative in their methods of illegal immigration and causes mistrust among the border countries. Detainees are often subject to arbitrary punishment, including shackling, solitary confinement, neglect of basic medical and hygienic needs, denial of outdoor recreation, and verbal, physical, and even sexual abuse. This means that when they are actually released into Mexico, they often have so much emotional, mental, and even physical trauma that if they don't have a strong support system waiting for them, they have a high chance of living a troubled life or trying to re-enter illegally. This case study addresses the labor worker community in Dubai. So much development is happening in Dubai that the sudden influx of laborers leaves a concern for low-cost housing for these workers. By addressing the daily routine of these workers, this facility provides the most appropriate services that suit the immediate needs of the workers. Another housing case study can be found in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The community is known as La Boca, or the mouth, and was historically used for whatever scrap material they could find to use as facades. The people in this neighborhood were living in poverty and were oppressed, so they did what they had to do to provide shelter for themselves. Over time, this area became infamous for its vibrance and now is a tourist destination in itself. Ideally, this thesis could be developed to address needs of deportees while providing a positive experience and addressing the background issues of immigration, just like La Boca addresses the history of the neighborhood and incorporates it into its fabric. This image represents a case study that's an example that would provide a more immediate relief shelter and resource center for deportees. The easy assembly and low cost of shipping containers makes this type of structure more feasible for urgent situations, while a more permanent structure is designed with more detailed considerations in mind. The final case study is an example of modular housing that could approach a diverse group of people and could be easily assembled and moved based on the demand. The user also has the freedom of reorganizing the space for their specific needs, so they can make the space their own. This would help with the transition back to their lives in Mexico by being able to create a space that they can call their own during their stay. Thank you.